Welcome to the show, fellas. I am Run, and I am here with Qual and Slink, and we're going to run down the weekend in the LCS. And our first match of the weekend was TSM Optic. But before we get to that, let's go over. I saw it on Reddit. It seemed it looked like he was talking in Twitch chat with somebody. Acadian said, we will smurf soon. TSM's wrath will be swift. All these peasants thinking we aren't good, laughing my fucking ass off. Well, I mean, they backed it up a little bit this weekend because the first game, Optics struggling right now with their 10-man roster, as they like to call it. They put Meteos back in, Arrows in, and it has not gone well for them. So going into this game, TSM's been a little bit on the rise too. They obviously have a good team. They have a really good mid laner and a good AD carry. Acadian, still wondering about a little bit. Broken Blade is somebody people keep calling him a rookie, but this guy, he played in Turkey at the high level. They almost made Worlds, so I mean he's not new to the scene. I don't think this is tough. And Smoothie's been around obviously for a little bit, but this game wasn't really close. I thought Crown was all right in the game. I thought Arrow was all right in the game, and I thought Meteos actually had a pretty good game, but they just look outclassed at all moments in the game. I want to get into the beginning of this because I think the most important not most important, but one of the biggest topics this weekend is you have someone Optic. They're trying this 10-man roster nonsense. They finally have the people who are supposed to be their starting lineup. But it's really hard for me. I'm not saying Meteos is the problem right now because we're not hearing the comms and stuff. Meteos has actually played pretty well. So, but you got Dardoch there. I'm wondering if there's anything that they go two. I think they went 2-2 with the original roster, the Academy roster as they called it. But they haven't looked good since. They've looked very disjointed. It looks like people are kind of running all over the place. Like there's kind of an engage, there's not an engage. And then there was just an awful play today that we'll get to later in their second game. But in this game, something looks like it's not working for them right now.
Well, it's got to be tricky to keep up really strong communication with the team. You're not entirely sure who's going to be playing on your team from week to week. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason no other League of Legends professional team in any division does it this way. They probably think they're trying to reinvent the wheel a little bit, but so far they're not. They're making the wheel not round, and it's just not working. So I don't know, and I agree with you. I would love to sit here and blame Meteos because I'm not a big fan of his, but he hasn't played that poorly. It's
played pretty good.
The whole team together hasn't played that well, and it's shocking because we know how talented Crown is and Arrow is individually. But I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. As long as this current meta we're in is so top lane focused, if your top laner isn't top tier, you're going to get exposed. And Dokla got they put him on the tank, and I don't know. Sometimes I don't agree with these teams that just throw Sion into a lane and say, yeah, you're going to get out CS'd by 100, but you're going to be Sion, you'll be good later. Well, they're starting to get really just drilled with that.
And the Sion nerfs hurt.
Broken Blade just tore him up 5-2 on Urgot, and he can kill anybody on their team anytime he wants to. That's not a good way to win.
Yeah, and the Sion nerfs hurt. I mean, he wasn't exactly in a terrible matchup into Urgot, but Urgot is ranged. He's got a ton of damage. He's got a ton of shielding. He's got a displacement, but he's got a crazy ult that seems so ridiculous against a tank, being able to pull him in at that percentage health. It's, you're essentially cutting out a giant chunk of their health. So effectively, when Urgot's in the game, anybody does, you lose that much health, that percentage of health, which is crazy to me that that's in the game. But Sion got some pretty significant nerfs for the laning phase, and it's starting to show a little bit. You know what I mean? He's coming out of lane a lot worse for wear. It was okay before because he would come out of lane with 700 extra health or something like that. And if you let him farm up there, he comes out of lane with so much health, and that's why he can buy Righteous Glory first and stuff like that, and really not build a ton of resistances because he just has so much health. But yeah, percent health damage characters. Cassiopeia's on that team. Urgot doesn't care so much as long as they get you down to 25%, and he can yank you in and then fear the rest of your team, especially if Flash is up. It was interesting because it was an interesting draft from TSM, right? I mean, they went Jace mid and Cassio bot. Not something you'd expect to see Sven on. Really, he played it really well. He's 7-1. I mean, he tore that game up. But I feel like this was a huge mistake on Optic's end because it looked like they wanted to put Arrow on Callista, right? It looked like Callista Thresh was something they wanted to go for. If you're going to do that, you have to ban Cassiopeia because she owns Callista's world because she can just zone her out of fights. And if she ever gets a W on her, Callista's dead to rights. It takes away her whole entire passive. It takes away what she stands for, what she does. And it doesn't help. I really didn't like the boots buy from Arrow. I don't feel like that's going to help you much. First of all, they don't have a traditional AD carry. They have Jace. And if Jace gets on you as Callista and you can't kite it out, you're dead anyways. Those boots aren't going to save your life. They're not going to help you from the poke that much. So that was really weird because you'd rather have Swifties or attack speed, or Berserker Greaves on her. It was an odd build with a GA and all that stuff. When you're building a GA on someone like Callista with a Thresh and a Scion, an Olaf, and a Zoe standing next to you, that shows me you don't trust your team to protect you in those team fights. And then you have a Cassiopeia, and multiple times in this game, Cassio just zoned him out of the fights. He couldn't even get in there. There was a couple, 2-3 fights in a row. You got like 4 or 5 auto attacks off total, like in these fights. And it was like, I don't see how you can plan on picking Callista and not ban Cassiopeia.
Well, in my opinion, Callista's going to require a large amount of coordination. Right. And going back to the whole issue with the 10-man roster, you don't play enough games to warrant a 10-man roster. You just don't. Yeah. It's like we've said repeatedly. I mean, a 10-man roster makes sense, I think, maybe in Korea. Are those organizations doing it? Because they're playing a lot more.
No, 6-man is about as big as you'll get. Maybe a 7th person there.
Like,
but
I'm not suggesting it's a good idea. I'm just saying that if the organizations in Korea who play twice as many games a week as we do aren't doing it, why are you doing it? Because I can't see any reason to implement that.
Trying to be
None.
different. Like Slink said earlier, it's like they're just doing it to be different, right? What you just brought up, this game was a perfect example of it. Optic had control of this game early, right? They had complete control of this game. They got both drags. First team fight was fine. Arrow kind of made a mistake there at the blue buff. Like, he was over the wall. He didn't get the hop over the wall. He still had his flash. So if you're going to flash into that fight, flash into the fight and fight. There was a couple people who were low. It was like a Callista wheelhouse in there. You know what I mean? She's got corners to get around. She can kite in there, but he doesn't get over the wall. And then he flashes over the wall late to try and pick a kill off, ends up dying, and it was kind of like it looked very indecisive. Like, you didn't get over that wall, just get over the wall. Because
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
Ahead.
But it's like Crown and Arrow are both typically better than whoever they're laning against. Obviously, I feel like Bjergsen's better than Crown in this situation. But Arrow is good. He's really good. You know?
Arrow's outstanding.
And I do honestly feel like these two dudes, like, they feel like they've got to put the team on their shoulder and just go. We can't coordinate here because I can't count on these other people. And not to mention, you might not be even in, tomorrow's game or next week's game or whatever. We might be subbing in some rando.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't matter. But like we've discussed, in length, is that you can't really carry in this meta anymore, or even in this game. Like, you can't. It requires a team around you, and I feel like Optics completely shot themselves in the foot. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, the communication was a huge problem in this game. They get going in the game, I'll get into the bounty system really showed its ass during this game twice. I'll get into that in a second. But Optic got Baron, right? So 4 of them go mid. 4 of them go mid. And this is where this communication problem, you can see it visually happening on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 of them go mid, and Olaf goes top. Okay, fine. That's fine. Like, if that's going to happen. But then you're Optic, and you push too far up. Cassiopeia gets in a situation where she can get a W on you guys. You can't get out of there, and you get smashed in a team fight. The one thing TSM doesn't have in this situation while you have Baron is wave clear. They have no wave clear. Jace is terrible wave clear. Cassiopeia is not a great at wave clear. They didn't have any wave clear. Urgot's not going to clear waves for you that fast. But your big damage in the wave clear, you have Baron buff for. Cassiopeia is not going to eat through them fast enough. And they decided to try and like fight kind of outside of the thing while Olaf was still top and then running down to the mid. And it was just, you're looking at that going, who is making these calls? What's going on in this situation? Because it's something you would think. I don't feel like someone in charge going, this is the shot caller, we're all going to listen to them, is a very hard thing to do. Now, whether the players react to that, okay, but they didn't react to it on Sunday because it was the same situation, the same problem. It just looks so disjointed and chaotic for them. I mean, that was just unbelievable. They had full control of this game and they literally threw the game.
They took 2 Barons.
Right.
They took 2 Barons and lost in a pro game. That's ridiculous. You don't see that. But, they're not helping Arrow out. Like, I'm as big a fan of a Thresh as anybody here, but that was their first round of picks. They took Olaf Thresh first round as their priority picks. And okay, I'm all right with getting Meteos on a pick that he's good on because he's just not that good on a lot of champs. He really isn't. So you got to get him on somebody he excels on, and he's good at Olaf. But if you're thinking you're going to play Kalista the whole game, and since she was their 4th pick, I'm assuming they were, why would you take Thresh instead of Alistar? He's available. I mean, you let TSM take Alistar on the flip.
And Cassiopeia.
Kalista Alistar's
and ban Silas.
A next step.
Yeah, that's always been so good. It's always been
better
good.
than Kalista Thresh. It's not an argument. It just is. You take Thresh instead, let them have Alistar, and then still don't have the common sense to not pick the Kalista after you've seen their team. Like, you can see Urgot, Gragas, Jace, Cass, Alistar, and you're sitting there with the last pick of the whole draft, and you lock in Kalista?
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. That's unacceptable. It's terrible coaching. It's a terrible decision. They could have picked any other AD carry there and been sitting okay. Because, I mean, Arrow went 2-1-2 into his worst matchup in the entire game, with Cassio, because she can ground him and just ruin everything he wants to do, and he still goes positive. Just think if he
honestly,
was
how about a Sivir?
AD carry.
Like, Sivir would have been insane there.
I mean, anything besides Kalista.
I guess, technically, that's what you just said. But I'm looking at that like, I don't know.
Anything.
Like, Sivir is such a good
besides
pick.
Kalista in that situation.
They banned so many ADCs there, but Sivir was still up. Like, how do you just...
But how do you leave Cassio up for Bjergsen? It went to Sven anyways, but how do you leave a Cassio up for Bjergsen in the first place?
They got caught up in the meta. They got caught up in the nerfs. You've seen it, They get a nerf, and so they're like, well, they can't play her. She just got a nerf. Let's not kid ourselves. They don't care.
Crown was dominating this game. I mean, he was all over the place. He was playing really, really well. And then the last team fight, he gets caught. And immediately you hear the casters, and then afterwards, like, everyone's going to look at Crown and kind of blame him for this. You can't get caught out there. Bullshit. All right? First of all, you're against a poke comp. I mean, Bjergsen is poking you guys down so much. At this point in the game, Kallista's at half health, because she's getting hit by Bjergsen. She, walking through, Cassiopeia, you can't get anywhere near her because if she gets any poison on you and hits you with 1E, you're taking a ton of damage, and then you're going to burn for a little bit too on top of it. She's a little bit safer. She got Seraphs, So you're in that situation mid, and then they kind of switch sides, right? So, blue's up on the red side kind of there in that mid thing, and Crown's trying to get either a sleep on somebody or get some poke down to answer the poke that they're taking. And you're watching Dokla walk back and forth on Sion. Like, and then it looks like he's going, then he runs backwards, takes a bunch of poke, then runs backwards. Meteos is kind of doing the same thing, and it just seemed like the team was waiting for Dokla to go. Because at one point, TSM kind of bunched up on accident. A bunch of them were running around the river there on the mid thing, and then a couple of them were running towards the thing. But if he goes right there, he gets at least 2 of them. And if he gets 2 of them in the beginning of that fight, and they can get Callista up above Cassiopeia, where she can start hopping around and moving in that fight, and they win that fight, they're ahead at the time. Like you said, they got 2 Barons. And yes, Crown gets picked, game's over. But it looks like he's trying to poke thinking he's safe because he's got a Scion standing in front of him, and then as soon as he goes to poke, Scion's not there anymore. Like, where are you going, dude? You have one job, stand in front of your carries, and you're not doing it. It's just, Crown can't get picked there, but it just seemed like such a bad communication. Like, no one really knew what they were going to do. No one was going to make a decision there. I mean, someone's got to just tell Dokla, go. If we lose, we lose. Like, it's too late in the game now to start worrying about that stuff. You got a chance to hit 2 of them with the Scion ult and get in the middle of that thing with, he's full build essentially at this point. Get in that fight and just get after it. They just kind of bounced around, took a bunch of poke, Crown got picked, and then they got smashed in the team fight. Because again, you can't pick Callista into Cassiopeia, or if you're going to, you have to ban. And you waste a ban on Silas too, which is, I don't know how many times we have to talk about it, but it's comically insane that people think that's a good pick. But I just want to bring this up so we don't have to bring it up in every game. The bounty system, I don't know if anybody thinks it's good. If they do, I'd really like to hear like a rational reason why they think it's good. But there was 2 times in this game at one point. The Crown had a 600 gold bounty at one point. He was up 300 gold. So if he dies, that's a 600 gold swing in the other team's favor. He's up 300 gold at this point. And I don't even know how much CS he was up. And then we saw it with Arrow. Arrow's down 1. He's up 0 farm. They're exactly tied in farm. He's down 1 kill and 1 assist, yet he has a bounty on him over Sven at this point. And you can't reconcile that. Like, you can't tell me that that's a good system and this is implemented properly, because that's ridiculous. That's not the intended purpose of this, right? You just admit this thing is messed up. Either take it away while you rework it, or do something to fix it, because this can't be happening in professional games. In a solo queue game, whatever, 600 gold swing, who cares? In a pro game, that could win the next team fight.
Yeah, it's a terrible system. They need to change it, but they won't, because they come up with it, and so they think it's the greatest thing ever. And I've followed plenty of discussions about it, and they're quite convinced that it's the right way to go about it, and that it evens the game out and it keeps games from snowballing. So as long as they're that delusional about it, you get used to the bounty system, because it's gonna be around, and they're gonna keep basing bounties off of CS and team average
Right.
CS.
I just want the debate.
So
What's so wrong with snowballing?
Nothing.
What's so wrong with one team being better than the other team?
I don't know. This Worlds is the most fun Worlds I've ever watched.
I don't understand the issue with that. What's the mentality on the side of, no, we don't want a team just, like, I do get it to a degree where it's, oh, well, you've got these people watching that, are always going to be cheering for the underdog and they want the comeback. And okay, that's fine. Isn't that what Baron is for? Isn't that what
Right.
the Elder Dragon is for? Isn't that what like a very clutch alt team fight, is all about? The 5-man Melfight knockup. Whoa, crazy. They're
Funny you
down
said
how
Malphite.
much gold? You know what I mean? But at the same time, they can turn that around and win. But now there is none of that. You've ruined that.
Mhm.
You've taken that all away.
Yeah, because
And-
now, with how slow the game is, these gold leads that they have are brutal. They're even worse now. Their whole idea was, oh, it's gonna force teams to engage more. Like, hey, that guy's got 1,000 gold bounty, let's go get him. But it makes the other team go, I'm not going anywhere near a team fight. I'm up 1,000 gold. I'm gonna farm until we get to Baron,
Exactly.
and we're just so much stronger than you. You can't engage on us because the game's over if you lose this team fight. So you're gonna have to let us take Baron and get further ahead. You know,
Or
it's
or like you or it just exactly like you described, where somehow I'm losing,
right.
yet I have a bounty.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple times now. You know, these ones are just clear-cut ones that
That's just
I took notes
inexcusable.
on. You're just going, what is going on here? But I mean, you also have a company that is in control of everything, right? They have no one to answer to
That's the problem.
anywhere. They control every aspect of the professional play, and it's a huge problem. The players have no agency in how that stuff works. They have no pull. They have no say. They just have to abide by it. You know, guys could lose jobs because of some of the patches they make. You know, but they have they don't get paid if they lose their job because the meta doesn't suit them. You know, and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a huge problem, and maybe we just talk about that sometime. You know what I mean? Dedicate a whole entire thing to it because it's a huge problem. And as much as they don't want to be like professional sports, you're like professional sports, and they have ways to protect themselves from those things, and they're called players associations. I know they have one, but it's not that good because they're not protecting themselves, and you can see it. One quick thing before we move on to the next game. Again, this was a lot of stuff happened in this game. We've already talked about it, and it was the beginning of kind of really seeing this optic stuff, and it was also the beginning of going, hey, TSM, maybe they did figure it out. Maybe Acadian was right. At the end of this game, they went, Avali went and interviewed Sven, and she asked him like 2 questions, and then they cut to the analyst desk. I'll listen to Hai all day. He's been outstanding on the analyst desk, but I don't need to hear the analyst desk. Like, I don't know why they cut away so quickly there. Sven's out. He's extremely interesting to talk to. Like, again, this has nothing to do with the games, but it was just something I noticed. I'd like to hear more from Sven at the end of that game because they were obviously feeling good. He picked something he was playing a Cassiopeia, not a traditional AD carry, and I asked him like 2 pretty simple questions and just kind of moved on and went to the analyst desk so I can hear them reiterate whatever Hai says. You know what I mean? So Hai brings up a good point, and then everyone else just yeah, say the same thing in just a different way. It's ridiculous. Hai's a godsend on that analyst desk, though. He's
they needed him.
Yeah, he should just be him. Should just be him, just sitting there and explaining what's going on. I'd love to hear that. Let's get to game 2 of yesterday. We had Golden Guardians versus Team Liquid. It's a good game. I think Golden Guardians played fine. They made some mistakes. They had a good draft. Put Froggen on Anivia. I liked the Zac pick. Got Hanser on, they picked the Tom, got Hanser on Urgot. And TL's just a better team.
I want to caveat that by saying Team Liquid inevitably won that game.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, honestly, that could have gone differently. They let the Tom Kench through, which blows my mind.
Yeah. Alistair and Tom Kench got through on that draft.
Mm-hmm.
The Tom Kench, when there's an Ashe, or whatever, it's just, I don't know. Like, the Tom Kench just is the no fun champion, as Slink has so eloquently put many times. And you've got a lot of engage on the side of Team Liquid. You got your Scion, you got your Gragas, you got Syndra's point and click death, and then Sivir and Alistar. It's all just let's get in there and do it.
Right.
And if you're gonna go that route, how is Tom Kench still there? It's a moot point because they won.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's exactly like you said. Team Liquid's a better team.
They're just better.
That's the only caveat I put to that pick ban is that it surprises me that they let the Tom through.
I'm with you
Actually
100%. Slink and I have talked about this many times. I'm surprised Tom Kench ever gets through a draft. I can see Alistair getting through a draft occasionally, but Tom Kench getting through a draft is mind-blowing to me. That champion saves more people and screws up more team fights than any champion in this game. He has a slow. He can eat the enemy players and put them somewhere else. The other thing is, too, he's got basically a Twisted Fate teleport.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up at the most inopportune times for your other team. Like, he gets his 8. Like, one of the biggest things Tom is so good at is that you both go back, and then the two top laners start fighting, and then Tom's like, hey, let's go down there and get our 80 carry a kill. And you just show
Yeah.
up and you give your 80 carry the kill. He's one of those champs that should be 100% pick ban. In almost every game, there's not many comps, outside of what Griffin's doing, just styling on people in the LCK, that Tom isn't going to help, because he just does so many things well. And one no one even talks about is just Tom showing up out of nowhere. Even if he doesn't bring anyone with him, he just shows up, eats whoever he wants, flashes out, spits him over a wall, and laughs at you while he walks away. It's ridiculous. But I thought Golden Guardians played fine. I mean, they just weren't going to beat Team Liquid in this game, but I thought it was a good showing by them. They were on a little bit of a hot streak there. It was nice to see Froggen on Anivia, the Anivia kid, and Golden Guardians looked good. They look like a middle of the pack team that could do some damage here and mess up some people's spring splits here at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I really liked this game. I watched finish. I was happy they put Froggen on the Anivia. That was a good move.
Mm-hmm.
You put you're probably your best player in Hanser on Urgot. I mean, he was good. And then you try and keep your bot lane safe with the old Tom Kench. It's a good strategy to try and beat TL, but you're not beating Double Lift right now in NA. That's just the way it is. He goes 8-1. Tom Kench, Anivia, and Zach. You have to kill those 3 champs so many times, and he still goes 8-1 and 8. It is an unbelievable performance by him.
Yeah,
but
it was
Golden Guardians had their chances. I didn't like the Zach pick afterwards. I thought I did when they did it, and I thought, yeah, there you go. That's going to be kind of cool. It was terrible. It backfired. He wasn't able to do what Zach's supposed to do because he's just not that good right now. And there was nobody on their team that he could do Zach things to, or bounce in and pull him out and do all the things that he likes to do safely. It just didn't come to fruition like it looked in the draft, which is unfortunate. And
yeah, he had a dope play on Double Lift where he bound in from the Fog of War, and he was going to land on Double Lift, so Double Lift spell shielded, but he smited him to get rid of the spell shield and then picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a pretty dope move. I do think Zach's good right now. That kind of team kind of let him farm a little bit, but this was a skill problem. This was just a better team beating up on a worse team who may have even had a better draft and a better comp, but I don't think it was going to stop Team Liquid on that day.
No, and they gave away too many. To take a comp like that, the problem is you do give away too many meta picks.
Right.
And it's one thing to play the Ashe and the Tom, the Anivia, and the Zach, but all 4 of those, other than Tom, are probably not considered your top. Well, I take that back because Ashe was played a ton this weekend, both overseas and here. Like, she's apparently kind of, with the bans that are going through, she's
a pick
new
champion.
pick. She's the new pick right now.
Yeah,
so
she's a
that
pick
one was
champion.
okay. But the other 3, they just, I don't know. You have to give away too much. You end up having to go into the Alistair Sivir lane. It's a nightmare. And you got Scion on Impact, and you still get Gragas jungle. It's just too much. It's just too much of an uphill battle.
Yeah, too good of a comp to give them.
Yep.
Going into the C9 Fox game, Sivir Alistair again. Sneaky's on Sivir. Zeyzal gets Alistair. It's basically the same team, except they don't have Scion top. They have Urgot top. Scion's on Fox's side, so it's pretty much the same game. This was. It had a great ending to it, with Sneaky almost getting the penta and them diving the fountain, giving Hawkwo a bunch of kills. And the comms were pretty funny, but this was pretty much just from start to finish, they just strangled Fox and just kind of ran them down in the thing. Rush really just never got into the game on Lee. He didn't get to go early. Phoenix didn't have much of a chance in that lane, and don't like Varus right now. I think Apollo has played really, really well this split with Hakuo, and I you're going into Sivir Alistair. I just felt like that was a really odd bot lane because the games you have been doing well, you've been kind of going through your bot lane. Apollo's been up in CS consistently. Hakuo's played pretty good this split. He had a rough game. He got caught by a flashless Alistair at one point, and that was really weird. And then he got caught again, which kind of put them on the back burner there and let them go there. He didn't have his best game, but C9 really is kind of starting to show that they're probably the second best team in NA right now.
Yeah, they don't have a weak spot. They don't have a glaring weak spot, which is what you need, and they're strong. They're strong on the top half. We know how good a jungler Sven Skaren is.
Yep.
Niski's kind of new, or he's at least new to me. I haven't seen him a lot, but he seems to be holding his own. He's doing better than a lot of the other new mid laners that are just asked to hold their own. He's doing better than that. That's just again, Echo Fox had an okay comp. I didn't care much for the Varus Morgana.
Yeah,
I love Morgana to death, but I can't justify her right now unless very specific team comps, and that what they put together is not one of them in my opinion anyway. I know.
Yeah, especially into Sivir.
But that's not where I like that. Yeah, not into Sivir. You're never binding anybody. I mean, who are you going to bind? Alistair? Alistair does not care. You're never binding anyone else on that team.
It's also into a Syndra too. You're trying to get in there and she's stunning you and knocking you back, and in an Urgot, and you go in and maybe you start trying to ult, and before you even get the Zhonya's, Sven Skaren displaces you with Gragas ult. It's a rough comp to run Morgana into because she needs to get in the face, she needs to ult, she needs to Zhonya's, but if you don't get all that off before you get displaced by three or four members on the team have a displacement. So I don't see how that ever works in that situation, especially with I don't like it with Lee. I don't know what else Russia's going to play, but I mean, it just they went really standard comp. Yeah, and I didn't like the 80 carry pick. I don't know if it would have won him the game anyways. With Hakuo getting caught out twice down there and giving that gold
that
over
really
to
turned that lane around something fierce, didn't it?
Ruined it. Well, they got flash from Alistair. He didn't have flash. There's no business getting caught down there with a flashless Alistair. And you're Morgana, so Black Shield something. You got to be on top of that. Like if you're gonna go up there to check that brush in the lane there, put Black Shield on before you do it. Because
she held her flash till after the damn engagement was over with.
It was
died.
dead.
It was just a bad.
It was already ignited and dead. So, yeah, it wasn't Fox's best game, but I thought it was a great game for C9, and the ending of it was hilarious. Anybody listening to this didn't get to see the end of it, go check it out. The comms are really funny when they were trying to dive that fountain and give C9 the penta on Hakuo. That's why he ended 4-3. So it was interesting. Next game of the day is 100T versus Fly. Just putting it out there right away. Another loss for Silas. Just saying. Commentators are going crazy. They're hyping it. I'm starting to believe your conspiracy theory that Riot is making these teams pick this stupid champion. Because the commentators went nuts when he picked it. And they were like, NA Silas, all this stuff. And, I mean, Someday played good on it. He was 3-1. Too bad the rest of his team didn't have a kill. And it just...
I didn't actually get to see this game. But alongside that is I look at that team comp and I wonder what the J4 really brings to that. Honestly. Like...
Yeah, I mean, Jarvan's been good right now in this meta because he's the new Camille. Camille's not the meta jungler to go to, so Jarvan fills that role. So I think that's why he's being picked so much. I mean, we've seen him top lane a couple times too. When you first pick Silas, you put your team in a situation where he has to have an ult from the other team. So there's a couple of good ults, right? He got Sejuani's ult, ran Sejuani down with it, but he can't take Zoe's ult. That's not really useful. Ezreal ult's all right. Braum ult though, I mean he's got to get in the middle of the fight to deal with that, and it's this like hybrid tank Sylas, and at that point you're the hybrid tank. So by the time you come online with a little bit of AP, your fellow top laner is a Riven. She's gonna run your team down like a bunch of dogs, like. And that's what happened this game. I mean, Viper went crazy on Riven in this game. But I just... the casters were talking about it. They're like, teams think he's really good, all that stuff. They have not had enough time to make him good, for one. He's looked awful. His win rate across all the regions is abysmal. Just don't pick him. Your chances of winning with him are low. And even though Someday looked good on this, Someday's a really good player. But again, he's 3-1. The rest of the team was 0-for. Not a single kill. Not one on Bang, not one on Hui, not one on Anda. I mean, it's crazy. I don't care how good it looks on that. It's another L for Sylas to hold. This has become, you're almost throwing games by picking this champion. I would never ban him. I would hope the other team picked him.
Yeah, I think what you'll see next week, do a little prediction. See Zoe a lot of a game next week because she almost went undefeated this weekend.
She's crazy good right now.
In NA, the only game that she lost was the first game, and they were winning. They threw the damn game. So Crown Zoe is the only Zoe that lost, and they should have won. So every game that she was in for the weekend, she won.
It's a stupid champion.
Yeah, you just can't have that anymore. She's too good. And they tried to get cute with Hui on the Aerial Sun or Aerial Soul, and just God. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Hui's playing terrible. I think that's
Aurelian Soul was
right now.
Whatever. I know that's kind of like his cool pick. You know what I mean? But Aurelian Soul in this meta,
8-1 to start doing cool picks. You can't do cool picks when you're damn near last place.
I mean, Aurelian Soul is the same. Would have the same issue, in my opinion, as the J4. Like. The two picks on the opposing team, Zoe and Ezreal, that you're going to be able to run down can just get away. The Zoe can flash for days. I flashed already. Well, I'm going to flash again. No big deal, right? That's not broken. And Ezreal's E, as long as he's playing the Ez the way a typical Ez plays, you're just poking a person down, poking them down.
Well, it was Turtle, so there is a decent chance he eat forward to try and kill somebody at 100%
good point.
Health, so
that is actually a really good point. That's a really good point. But just the J4, the Aurelian Soul, it's all very questionable. And like you've discussed,
I like J4
the Sylas is.
he's
not. I'm not saying he's not good.
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean he picked it knowing full well. The only pick after that was the Riven. I don't know.
This to me becomes a Prawley problem. Your head coach, right?
True. We've talked about that too.
You're struggling as an organization, as a team, and you shouldn't be, because you have arguably the best top laner in the league. You have arguably the best AD carry in the league. You're not putting him in positions to succeed. I mean, he was 3-1. Sylas couldn't do anything. He's a AP melee champ into that team. So what's he going to do? He can't dive. He's not tanky enough to dive. If J4 and Tom get in there and then he can go in, sure. But all they talk about is, he's got this, under 40% health. He's going to heal himself. And okay. But now he's got to buy, he's got to buy certain things. This half tanky thing is really weird. But he's just he always has to be in a position where someone like a Zoe throws a sleepy trouble bubble through a wall and he's toast.
Right.
Because he's not an actual tank. He's a fake tank. And he's a healing tank, essentially. You know what I mean? He's tanking, that kind of Vlad thing, where Vlad's not real tanky, so to speak, but he's healing so much. You're like, but except Vlad actually heals on multiple abilities, and he has multiple ways to get health back and do damage and get out of there. And this becomes you're a team that's struggling. Why are you doing weird drafts like this? If you're Prawley, who he's not popping off or anything, this is not the time to be like, hey, let's go to your Aurelian Soul pick. No. You need to pick something that is going to help in this game? What can go into Zoe? What can go into this team? You know what I mean? And it was just it's coming down to, and we're going to see it in their second game because that was the same thing. You know, Anda's playing really bad right now. Afromu's playing really bad right now. And it comes into a situation where you need to start. You gotta do something. You gotta change something. I mean, you're supposed to be a super team, and it's not working. Super coach, super team, someday, bang, Afromu, and you start looking at this draft and going, I don't know what you guys are doing.
Yeah, they're just gimping their ability to win with some of the decisions they're making. I mean, it's not like we've seen Riven in this wonderful spot lately either. Like
no,
for
that's Viper
to take her in
10,000 games on Riven or something.
But in a organized professional game, that shit should not work. And it only works because you're playing this crap Silas into it and just letting the other team do whatever they want because he can't do anything.
Because it didn't. He had 3 kills, but didn't shut down Viper. I mean, he's up there farming. He got what he needed, you know. Bought an Executioner's
His kills
Calling.
are on the jungler and on the support. Good job. Never killed Pobelter, who had a bounty, I'm sure, the entire game, and you're not killing Ezreal with that garbage champ. So they're just not giving themselves the ability to win, and they're starting to panic. That was a panic draft right there. He doesn't know what to do to get his team a win, and he's panicking, and it's only going to get uglier.
Yeah, I mean, you want someday on something that can like fight Viper up there, you know what I mean, or just hard stomp his lane. Give him Renekton or something, you know. Give him something that can use the Spirit Sojin right now, because that thing is crazy. I mean, it's nuts. That item's nuts. Give him Jax or something like that. Tell him just, hey, you know what? Go win lane and let's try and just pop off right now. Because if you give Bang enough breathing room, he's going to tear it up.
Why can't you put someday on Aurelia? I don't understand why that's so hard to do. It was TSM's first ban of the game. Like, it's obviously something. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Now, I haven't done the research, but I'm pretty sure someday is a better Aurelia than Dokla. So if TSM's willing to ban the Aurelia so Dokla and or Crown can't have it, I'm pretty sure it's viable for someday to play instead of freaking Silas.
Yeah, it was first picked again. It was just
why is it a priority?
Understand. How many times does this champ have to lose in pro play for people to be like, you know what, this might not be that good. And if it is that good, I'm going to wait till someone else figures it out so they can lose on it. You know what I mean? They can do all the hard work, and then you can switch over to it. Be like, okay, you know, after a month or something where, hey, we figured something out on Silas, or, you know, we've seen how it's been used. But this isn't just in NA. This is across all regions. But again, this is, it's such a hype pick. It's a terrible pick. It's a terrible pick. It looks terrible, and you deserve to lose.
It's not good. I completely agree. But in theory, I think the argument for a Silas first pick is that it's flex. That the other team doesn't know. I'm air quoting this, okay, but they don't know where the Silas.
No one's ever played it anywhere but top.
It's gonna go.
Right? I mean, they would say that it could be jungled. They would say it could be jungled. You can jungle Silas,
not
or
in pro
you can
play.
Silas.
Yeah.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that this is what would be put forward by, like, the analysts, right, or the color commentators talking about the pick bands. Like,
then
if they were
crazy.
to focus in on the Silas, that's where the Silas can go, you know. So that's the reason why these organizations are picking a Silas first.
Then they need better analysts.
An organization that's idiotic enough to pick it.
Yeah, they need better analysts then. You know, they need to do a better job of prepping their teams and their coaches, because the data is there. I mean, this isn't an arguable fact. This champion is not winning games, and he's not helping win games. You know, there's some things he's done in lane. People are like, oh, that's really cool. You know, he can double ult in a fight. It looked good one time on Licorice. They're stomping that game. Of course it looked good on Licorice. You know.
Right.
At the end of this game, we'll get into it with their second game. I'll hold it from them. But Bang and Afromu are on different planets right now. And like I said, we'll talk about it in their second game because it's coming up here, and it's... Wow. It was bad. So our next game of the day is CG, CLG, Clutch Gaming, and Counterlogic Gaming. And we have another situation where Hooney's on Rumble, I guess. So you throw Rumble up there so you can int on that too. Um, I
Did a
just
good job of it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I think Biglet's playing pretty well, actually, to be honest with you. I really do. DeMonte's been playing great. He had a great start to the season. Lyra's been average, I guess. Whatever. Their communication looks really bad. I don't know what's going on there, obviously, but I don't get the Hooney thing. Like, you have to. I don't know if maybe it's not Hooney who's putting him on these champions, but you have to stop letting Hooney have any input if he is on these things, because this champion in this game looked awful. I mean, Power of Evil popped off this game on Kassadin. I mean, he was destroying their team. And you give up Tom, okay? You give up Scion, you give up J4, you give up Kassadin, you give up Jinx. You got Sivir, Alistair bot lane, great bot lane. You got Lyra on Lee Sin. I like Corki mid into Kassadin too. That's a good pick into Kassadin, at least until he gets level 11. You know what I mean? Level 6, he's not running Corki down. Corki and DeMonte looked, he was doing good. He was pushing Power of Evil in. He was doing really good. And Hooney was just getting dump truck top, because that champion doesn't belong in this meta. It worked mid that one time for Crown into Akali because of the situation, but I don't know what to say about Clutch Gaming right now. I just don't. Like, do you have who's their Academy top laner? Should probably look that up, because I know people love Hooney and he's a great guy and he's fun to watch and stuff like that. But that guy has not played well for well over a year. I would argue he hasn't played well since his SKT days, really, and even then he wasn't playing well. And during the cast they were like, we know he's a great top laner. Like, is he? He's not a top 5 top laner in NA right now, much less the West or the world. I mean, I wouldn't put him in an all-time top 20, top 10 top laners of all time. I mean,
that says something. No, I wouldn't, but that says something, because our top lane, we don't have a lot of, world-class top laners. Let's be honest, like, for a while, our best one was arguably Hanser. That's not good.
Yeah. That's my point. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, I'm firmly in the belief that people like Hooney. I like Hooney. I love him streaming. He's a funny guy. The fans love him. He's really nice, and
for the NA fans,
great,
I think it comes from. You're right. I think everyone's love affair with Hooney comes from when he was on Fnatic. When he was on Fnatic,
Fnatic,
and Hooney and Reignover, and then they both come over, and it's just insanity, like, they're just such a good pair. And then now, I don't know how to explain it other than that. So they're attributing all of that glory to him now, and it's
right. But those teams didn't do anything internationally.
You're right. Even Immortals, like when push came to shove, they couldn't.
Yeah, when they had to play real
couldn't
teams.
Finish.
Yeah,
right.
When Hooney has to play a real top laner, he does not do well. It's
exactly.
I get it. Maybe that's the best top laner you can get right now. That's fine. But you need to start putting him on things that are focused around the rest of the team. He's not carrying your games. Period.
No. He started inting, like you said.
He was inting.
He inted in that game.
It's so bad, man.
He inted that game. So early in the game, Lyra had a nice play bot to punish Stixxay and Bio, because they were playing hyper aggressive down there. And then so then there's a dragon fight. This is where we'll get into the Hooney thing. Hooney TP's up by blue buff, by the tri-bush there, above dragon, to come into the fight, and dies. Azael goes, oh, he was doing it to get dragon. No, he wasn't. It was just a bad TP, because these are the type of plays he's making right now. Like, I don't know if he's out of control, or if he's just doing whatever he wants, or maybe he's a shot caller. I have no idea. But that TP was terrible. He just died for no reason. They were getting the dragon anyways. They had full control of the dragon pit. They weren't going to get that stuff. And, that's when it went into we know he's a great top laner and stuff like that. And like I said, I don't think he's a serviceable pro, but he's not one of the all-time greats. He's not that word great. I know I use it too much probably too, but that word great to put onto that, I mean, great players don't make plays like that. That was a straight TP into int. That's exactly what it was. And Freak said it too because he was right. It was a TP into inting. And it's just, I don't, again, your CG, where is your data going into this draft? CLG dominates with Tom. Biofrost dominates on Tom Kench. Why aren't you banning that? You banned Silas. I'd have given Darshawn Silas in a heartbeat. But then again, maybe they banned it so Hooney didn't pick it. So, I mean, maybe you had to ban it away from Hooney.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that team ban. But, I mean, they said it during the game. Tom Kench has been huge for them. Just ban him. I don't know why you don't just ban that champion. If you just go look at the stats and the percentages of what they're doing with that champion, just ban him.
He's not a waste of a ban. There's no way you can make that
No,
argument.
I agree. I agree. You could ban Tom Kench every time,
Right.
and there should be no argument for that. Like, well, that makes sense. It's a perfectly legitimate ban.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfectly legitimate.
Yeah.
Well, like you say, let's compare it here. The coaching. We'll call it all coaching because we don't not on, but Clutch is in last place, and their last 3 bans of that game were Silas, Ivern, and Victor, as opposed to CLG, who banned Jace, Olaf, and Nocturne. Now, who got the better end of that deal? I'm you don't have to be that intelligent or that into League of Legends to know who screwed that up. And it's the team that got obliterated on the map that screwed that up. And it's obvious. And I don't know why they can't figure that out. Hopefully they go back and look at it. But
they won't. They've been doing it every game
this
this
is week
season.
4.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got plenty of data to suggest a better move.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a free game for CLG. Literally, it's just a free game. I mean, just a free W.
I think you come through that pick ban feeling pretty confident that was gonna be free. Yeah. I mean,
you have to.
And if not, then when you're pulling an Iron 4 Qual Check teleport, I think that's pretty much gonna be the nail in the coffin.
I'm going to teleport in and get a Quadra here, you know what I mean?
I got this. Yeah. Don't worry, guys. I got this.
Inting hard enough from lane, you have to teleport into
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, dude.
You haven't inted hard enough as it is from the fountain. You have to teleport.
I'm going hard.
Man, I am sorry, Hooney, but you got to clean it up, buddy, because it's bad. It is bad. And I don't know what else to say about CG. I mean, we have a whole nother game of them to look at. I just...
They're in a hole.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get out of it.
No.
This season's over for them. They're going to have to make some changes. So starting off today, we had 100 Thieves, which is where we'll get into this stuff against Fox. This was an interesting game. So, one of the first things I was talking about, let's see this draft from 100 Thieves, right? Let's see where they go with this because yesterday's was bad. See what they do here, and I like this draft from them, right? You put Huhi on something safe, Subnay on something he can, possibly dominate lane and carry on. Anda played really bad on a good jungler, but he played really bad. And then, like I said, Bang and Aframu look lost together. I don't know what's going on down there. Bang just looks completely lost. He doesn't look comfortable. There's been moments this season where he's forced into a situation where he has to start outplaying people, and you've got to see that stuff on Bang. But they're so far behind in general that it's just not working. I mean, he had 210 farm in a 30-minute game. It's... I don't know what to say there. It was interesting. I mean, Fox took Malphite, which worked out fantastically for them because he just kind of laughed off Jace's damage after the first initial thing. But there's the dive top, right? So Anda goes up top. It's a Malphite for one thing. They go to dive him, doesn't work. It's just a terrible dive. Blows both their flashes. It didn't work out. They played it wrong. Fox played it right. Or Solo played it right. But now now he gets to come back to lane, and now he's safe from Jace. So that whole push is gone, and I know that's why they probably pushed it up there, because they had to get Jace ahead where he was always ahead of the Malphite, because we all know how Malphite works. Once he gets ahead of you and you're an AD champion, I mean, you do laughable damage to him at that point. It's just a really awkward dive. And then immediately after, Aphromoo goes in and saves Anda from poor positioning, and then Huhi goes in and dies. And that's when you're just looking at it like, this game's over. It's already over. I mean, Phoenix was 4-0, Solo was 4-1, Rush dominated the game, didn't even finish his jungle item again. Apollo was 4-1. I mean, Hakuo was 1-1 with 8 assists. 100 Thieves looked like the second worst team in the league during this game.
This is a 29-minute game.
Mm-hmm.
29 minutes. And I'm not going to go through every single build here, but Huhi doesn't even get to Zonia's on Alessandra.
Nope.
Huhi gets out-farmed by the enemy team's Malphite. Think about that statement. The mid laner for 100 Thieves got out-farmed by the enemy team's Malphite. Never gets to his Zonias, sits there and relies on his stupid stopwatch for the whole game. Bang is the only AD carry playing Ashe right now that doesn't build Runon's Hurricane. He doesn't build Bork, and he doesn't build Runon's. He builds IE into Static, and now he's like 0-3 on the champion. So, I don't know. Maybe think about changing that up a little bit, since you're just getting smoked on
Bork's
that
still
champion.
really good on her.
It must be. Everyone else does just fine with it, and he gets rolled going the other way.
You need that attack speed.
I don't understand.
The Hell Shred. You know, you go Bork into Runon's, or even if you go into Static, fine, whatever. Or you go into Rapid Fire so you can slow someone down and pick them off. Whatever. That's fine, but, I mean, Bork first on her is still really, really good. It gives her sustain. It gives her a little bit of safety. It gives her even more move speed when she's trying to kite somebody, you know, and into something like Malphite. Like, you better have that. If you don't have any lifesteal in the Malphite, he's going to build Thornmail, and now you can't shoot him.
Yep. And he's running teleport.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to build Bork first, you have to run heal. I know teleport's cool now, and that's what everyone wants to run because it's apparently meta overnight.
Yeah, it's cool.
If you're not going to build Bork, take frickin' heal. You can't run teleport and then not take a Bork. You have no sustain.
Yeah.
You're always low.
Yeah, and Shiv doesn't really help her either. I don't understand that one. It's just it's a weird build, and that's that disconnect in that team. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Bang's looking, you know, maybe they're telling him, hey, dude, you need to build Bork. And he's like, dude, I'm the world champion AD carry. I'll do what I want. Or if there's just not even talking to him about it. But, I mean, you have to start looking at Anda's playing awful, Hui's not playing good, Aphromu's not playing good. I mean, Aphromoo still has his moments, like when he saved Anda, and then Hui immediately ints. He goes and saves Anda, and then he immediately ints right afterwards. Like, what was the point of Aphromoo going up there to save him? You know what I mean? Like, that's a communication problem that I don't know if you can fix at this point in the season. You know, maybe summer
I
split.
feel like over. For the same reason that it's over for Fnatic. It's over for 100 Thieves. This split for them, it's done.
Yeah, the split is over.
It is.
The split is over.
It's done. I mean, they're not going to be able to turn it around.
I think you have to look into the situation that, you know, again, this comes down to an academy thing. You know, Aphromu's been around a long time, right? And that's an interesting, you know, dynamic down in that bot lane. Someone who's been in NA for a while. You have Bang, the world champ, coming in as your AD carry. But is Aphromoo as good as, you know, some of these other supports around here? Or is it a situation where Aphromoo has been around for so long, you just kind of assume that that's the best support you can get in that situation? Is it time to give someone another chance, especially in the jungle and at support? Because I don't know where you're going to find a mid laner right now, but I don't know.
I mean, on the previous teams that Aphromu's been, I would argue that he's, at least from the outside looking in, one would assume, he's, if not the best player, one of the best players on their team, for sure. Arguably the best player on their team. But now he's playing with Someday. He's playing with Bang. You know, like, these are well-named, everyone knows these guys as being,
Right.
ridiculously good. I don't know if we have no idea what the mentality of that team is, but it can't be good, honestly, from the coach all the way down through the rank and file players on that team. There can't be any positivity right now. I mean, I don't know if they've just thrown their hands up and said, yeah, fuck it. It just doesn't fucking matter.
It feels like an organization who built, had an opportunity to build what they would call a super team, right?
Yes.
Build all this hype up, do all this stuff, but then they forgot to put the infrastructure behind it.
Yep, I agree.
Like you got Prawley, a well sought after coach, but just putting the right pieces together, like just taking the best player. Team chemistry is so important, especially in a game like this.
I would agree completely with that.
There's a lot of comparisons
and I feel like that's
to the NBA because it's 5 people, right? So you get a lot of comparisons to the NBA, but it's not. You can't have a LeBron James, right? Like you can't have a guy like a LeBron James or Steph Curry who can how the game is now. You used to be able to do it, but now you can't do it. You can't have one guy who's just 15-0 in lane, just stomping people. You know what I mean? Like Faker was back in the day, picking, Olaf mid to counter pick and just run people down and do crazy stuff like that. You can't do that stuff anymore. The meta doesn't work like that. The game doesn't work like that anymore. The bounty system doesn't work like that anymore. The Baron dances don't work like that. Just the whole game in general doesn't work like that anymore. But also, players are just better overall. They don't make as many of those mistakes anymore because they're so much more used to that stuff. And is this a situation you have Bang and Someday? Do you start? Is it time to start putting other people in to see how this works? Because the whole team looks completely disconnected right now. It doesn't look like anybody's in charge. The only one who's consistently playing good is Someday. He's doing what he can, I guess. He's doing what he can because he's been playing well. Even that Silas game, he's 3-1. And he looked good early. He made some great plays, stealing ults and using them to run down things. But you have to start making some changes right now because this isn't going to get any better. You can just see it.
I think to a degree, and they're in the same situation as Fnatic, but you just wonder if where their heads are at. Like, okay, so you see the interviews with the Fnatic people, right? With Broxa. I don't know why there's the love affair with the interviewers and Broxa, but he always seems to be the one stepping up and answering the questions, and he's always the one saying, hey, we're there, we just got to, work out the issues. We don't really know what the problem is. It's frustrating, but like you get the idea that they kind of believe. I don't get that same feeling from 100 Thieves. I really don't. And I don't know if the answer is, you got to start switching people out, or if it's just a situation where they're a super team that, one would assume, well, you put all these crazy good players and a crazy sought-after coach together, it's got to work. No, it doesn't. If their mentalities, if their play styles are completely adverse to one another, you're not going to know that until you get them together. But once you do, it obviously is going to take some time. But I don't even know that just looking at it, just watching these games in 100 Thieves, I mean, doesn't feel like there's any attempt at communication at all. They're just all of them doing whatever the fuck they want. Like, I don't care. It just doesn't feel like there's much hope, honestly. Like, I don't like Fnatic. I actually don't. So I get wildly excited to see where they're at right now. But at the same time, a part of me does believe they're gonna turn it around. I don't think, even if they were to do that now, that they have a hope of even making it to the playoffs. I think this will be the first time they don't in this split. At the same time, I think they'll make it close. They're going to make it a little interesting at the end.
I don't think Fnatic will.
Maybe not. I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to believe they might work it out because, I mean, ultimately they're I don't know.
They have a better
but I don't.
I mean, we talked about it.
I do. That's exactly it, Slink. That's exactly.
That's where you're going with this. Yeah.
That's exactly
it.
They're also in a much
and that's
better
not
league.
saying a lot for them. That's not saying a lot for them because Fnatic has pretty much no shot. But I'm just saying, there's a part of me that wants to believe, and that's a little bit more than I even think of 100. And that's sad
100 Thieves
because
got no chance. They got nothing. And
No.
It's not. 'Cause I
it's not
like
going to
Bang.
get
I love
easier.
Someday.
They haven't even
You know,
turned,
I don't even
turned
have a
over the
problem with
schedule
that.
yet. They haven't even turned over the schedule yet, and
Mm.
they're done. Like, this
Yeah.
team is done. I mean, even if they win out, they're going to be in a bad position. I mean, and at the end of the day, too, I don't want to take anything away from Echo Fox here. They played really well in this game because they're a team that was kind of like, hey, where's this team going to be, right? You know, they kind of retooled. They had a really bad season last year. It looks like Rick Fox is taking more of a role again.
He was there. He was on
he's at the
hand.
game. He's taking more of a role again, and they look good together. You know, they played really well, and Rush kept his streak alive, where he's never gone 0-2 over a weekend, so that was good. But they looked good. They played really well, and their bot lane actually. They were putting up some of the talking about some of the stats today. Their bot lane has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Apollo and Hakuo have been absolutely phenomenal down there. Like I said, there's been some misplays from Hakuo, but overall they've laned extremely well. And it's nice to see Apollo playing well, honestly, because there's always been kind of a thing around him like, hey, when's this guy really going to come into his own? It looks like he's finally coming into his own and getting a chance to kind of pop off. He looked great in this game. His positioning was phenomenal. Phoenix looked awesome. Rush looked like Rush. And
You know who Apollo reminds me of, honestly? I'm just going to throw that out there as a wild comparison. But Altec. I remember Altec.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Altec was just a solid player that you're always just kind of waiting, like, is this guy ridiculously good? Or, because he has those moments. But, I mean, he never got there. But, I feel the same way about Apollo. I go back and forth on that guy wildly.
Yeah, he's had a good season. I'm happy for him, and it's good for Echo. It's good for Echo Fox. They had a really rough year last year, so, it's looking pretty good for them. But let's move on to the next game because talking about CLG is making me literally sad, and I just so we move into the Golden State Guardians against CLG, and Golden State Guardians stomped them. This was one of those games where it was kind of a thing where we were talking about it earlier. How far can Golden State, how far can the Guardians go? Hey, how good are these guys? How good can they be? I've been pretty critical in the past of Hanser. I still don't think he's anywhere near the best top laner in the league, but man, he has played well lately. And I kind of have to shut my mouth on that one. I kind of have to eat my words on that one because I really felt like at the beginning of the season he was their weak link, right? And he has not been their weak link. He's been their carry almost right now. But Deftly's played really well, who I like. Ole's played good. Froggen's Froggen. I mean, give the chance a guy a decent team to play with. He's going to play well. Contracts look great in this game. CLG just got stomped. There's no other way to talk about it. I mean, they're 9-1 in kills. And it was kind of one of those games where at the beginning of the game they're like, is this a situation where Froggen can only play comfort picks? Who cares? Why even bring that up? Stop trying to put fake storylines in the game. Like, even if he is on comfort picks, his 2 comfort picks are good in the meta right now. So, zip it. But, this game, I don't know. I mean, does this make you guys think that Golden Guardians have a chance of making the playoffs? They beat a good team today.
I think it does because of how poor the league's been playing. I mean, if 100 Thieves is going to be that bad, then it just kind of opens up the door for anybody to be better. And I thought CLG would be a little better this year, and they haven't been. TSM has come back this week, but they've struggled. And then everyone else is kind of a toss-up, really. I think
you never know
C9
who's going to show
TL
up.
are really good. So, I mean, for all we know, Golden Guardians could be the number 3 team in the league. We don't know, but I think they just play really well together. They're the opposite of 100 Thieves. They have less names, but they all play really well together, and they have a good team together. And I don't know, you see it in games like this, but this game was like a little personification of League of Legends in 2019, where 9-1. Power of Evil goes 1-0, and he has the only killing the team. Like, how pathetic of a game is that to watch where no one dies, nothing happens. They just don't. It's just so. I mean, there's 4 freaking guardian angels built in the game,
Yeah,
11 stopwatches. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's dumb. Darshan manages to feed 4 kills on a champ that has 8 lives. He basically died 24 times in the game and only got credited for 4. So I don't know. That was a really dumb pick. You don't see anybody else playing.
No, he got nerfed bad
anymore.
Yeah, he got nerfed bad.
Those were hammer nerfs. So
that
was
out
a
of the
really
game.
weak decision there from their coach. And I don't know. I feel a little bad for Stixay. I like him quite a bit. I like that bot lane. They're one of my favorite bot lanes in NA, if not my favorite, just to cheer for. But they just, I mean, what do? They only died once. You can't say they had a bad game. They just died one time. They got steamrolled.
Yeah, they got choked. They got choked out. Hanser was just running people down. Contracts was, making plays, getting around there. Definitely built Bork first. Just saying. It's like I said. I think we talked about it last week. I think Definitely really good. I think he is, as far as ceiling goes right now. I think he's the guy on the team that might have that big ceiling to become a staple AD carry in this league. He's got there's a lot of things he does well. He plays he's got a good champ pool. He's with a good support to support him. But I think one of the things the Golden Guardians have really going for them is they have this just consummate professional in the mid lane. And in the back rooms, when you're talking and strategizing and going through that stuff, Froggen's been through a lot of crap. He's been let go. A lot of teams didn't want to pick him up last season. It's really hard for me to look at someone like that and go, this is someone who's been a superstar for quite a long time, well known, great at farming, plays the lane well, but he seems like a consummate professional, a team leader, someone who can take people under his wing and lead them in the direction they need to go. Because you have kind of a volatile jungler who's talented in contracts. You have Hanser who's had his ups and downs, TSM, it was an up and then a down, when they move on. And Hanser's, there's been situations where you're like, this guy's done. Hanser's got no chance coming back. No one's going to sign him. You can't play like that. And then you see him today, and I just feel like that's a team that, they're run by a professional sports team. They were so bad last year it was comical. And this year it looks like they brought in the infrastructure they needed. They brought in the coaching staff they needed. They brought in the help they needed. They brought in a piece of glue to pull it all together in Froggen. Was he the best mid laner you could have got talent-wise? I don't know. But he's probably the best mid laner you could have got for what you're trying to do and rebuild that franchise.
I agree. I really like Froggen. I like him a lot. And I don't think he gets enough credit, just for... I mean, when you can sit here and say that he's played with and against and hung in there with the likes of every major... mid laner from Europe, obviously. Like, every single one of them that have come over here, he's played against while they were in EU. And now he's playing against them now in NA. And it's not like he's slacking or a slouch in any way. He's right there. He'll play a good game every time. You're not crushing Froggen. He's always going to be there, because he's a great farm. He farms great. And, I mean, he can carry, every now and then. He's kind of a little inconsistent in that specifically, but he's always there. He's always, worth a mention. Like, wow, that was a rough game, but you know what? He was right in there with it. It was close. And let me just say, like, I want Golden Guardians to make it to playoffs. I don't think they're going to, if I'm completely honest.
Neither do I.
But I want them to. I really want them to, because they're just. That's the kind of team you want to make it there, right? Like, when they're all playing together and it's close, and I just want them to make it. I don't know if they're going to. I don't think they're going to, but I want them to.
6 slots.
I got him in 6. I think they'll make it. I think they'll get in 6.
I mean, I do. I hope they make it. I do.
We'll
really
talk
do,
about it at the end when we bring up the standings, but, I mean, Optic's not making it.
Yep.
CG's not making it. So, really, you're fighting for 6 slots out of 8. Same thing as EU. You know what I
True.
mean?
True.
So I think there's I definitely think there's plenty of situations where they make the playoffs. But yeah, it was a great win for them against a good team. I think CLG is a good team. I think they have a good mid lane. You know, they have strong players at every position. Wiggly's still making some interesting decisions, to say the least. But mechanically, he's good. And yeah, it was a good win for them today. And I think this was just, you know, the last couple of weeks have been great for them. It's just going to build their confidence. And again, they have someone like Froggen, and it seems like they have an infrastructure who knows how to take these small, you know, these little victories and really build up their team and their confidence. Because Definitely's looked really confident and good the last couple of weeks. So, let's get to the big match of the weekend, and that was Team Liquid, TSM. So Acadian, he said they're going to start smurfing, and they smashed Team Liquid today. I mean, they destroyed them. Broken Blade was just going nuts. Spear Shojin, just saying. Killed Yorick in the base at one point, just ran him down. Bjergsen on Zoe. Zoe again. She's been a power pick outside of the West, so I don't feel like she's new. You know what I mean? I think she's been good for a while, but this game wasn't close at any point, and even Double Lift having a decent game couldn't have brought this back. They had no chance. It was just one of those it was one of those games. You got down early and you weren't going to come back into the game, especially against something like a Jax.
It was a really odd top lane to see. You know, we've seen a lot of Yorick banned, but not played a lot. It's like, you know, teams ban him when they know what they're going to play, and they absolutely cannot have him on the other team. But if you go back and look, there's tons of games where he's not a part of picks or bans at all. So he's just a really odd champ. I don't even know
really
that
good
much
with those buffs.
about that
Well,
champ.
he got those buffs. And
yeah, and it seems like they don't know who's gonna play him and who's not. So in this one, they just kind of let it go through, and it just didn't work. I don't know if Impact didn't play well or just Broken Blade was just on fire. But
I felt like
mean,
TSM
between
wanted
their
him to
top
pick
and
him.
Jungle, they went 0-9. So
right, I felt like TSM
rough.
wanted him to pick him.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. You know, little bait move there.
I think it was. It felt like a bait move. Like, okay, we're gonna ban the Urgot out, so now you can take Scion. That's fine, and then we'll adjust accordingly. But if you take the Urgot, the Yorick, like we think you're gonna do, we're gonna pick Jackson to it because Broken Blade looked prepared for that matchup.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And they locked it in quick
right.
too, if I recall.
Right. Yeah. They looked prepared for that matchup. Like they kind of baited him into it, and then the rest of the draft is pretty standard for both sides. You know, the Sivir Alistair bot lane, and I liked the Kai'Sa pick into this. It worked out well for him. I don't know about AP Kai'Sa, but I mean, I just not a huge fan of AP Kai'Sa now, but they were winning so hard. I guess it's a little more safer, and it does do a lot more damage on her proc when she gets that % health damage. So, and it makes that W just devastating when she's firing it, you know, from 3-point land. Yeah, it looked like a bait. And it looked like the reason Broken Blade looked very prepared to go into that matchup. And I thought Acadian played, I mean, he backed up his words, that's for sure. Smithy had nothing going on. He was 0-5.
Yeah, bad game.
Yeah, it was just one of those games, like, it was hyped a ton, and I was really excited to watch it because Team Liquid's obviously been on a roll. Double Lift was talking a lot of shit, like he normally does. He probably went a little overboard because, I mean, you look like a clown right now with some of the stuff you're saying about Sven, you know what I mean? You know, saying everyone's just always on his thing. They want Double Lift back on TSM, and, you know, must be really hard, so I have a mental advantage over him. Well, you know, your team got fucking blitzkrieg today, and it wasn't close. Yeah, it's one thing I like the banter. Like, EU has a lot of good banter, right? But if you're Team Liquid, you're stomping the league. TSM struggled at the start. They're looking a little bit better. Why give them more ammo? You know, like, I've never. Why wake a sleeping dog? Why give them more ammo, more reason to prepare, more incentive to win this game? Uh, there's a time and place for shit talking and banter and stuff like that, but that one seemed forced, and it seemed like one of those situations where you don't need to give them any more motivation. It's not going to beat them down. What you're saying, it's not going to make Sven feel bad. He's a professional. It's not going to get to him. Like he's not scared of you in lane double lift. And I don't know. Well, I just don't know why you would give someone more ammunition like that. We've seen it in sports too, where a team just decides to start lipping off about something, and then they get smashed, and you're like, why would you give them the motivation to come out angry and prepare more?
Yeah, but that's what Double Lift always does. So I mean,
Right.
it's not shocking. It's not new from him. I don't know. They were 7-0, and they felt it slipping away. You could tell, and they just fell apart a little bit. But if you're gonna lose, you might as well
It's a good one to
big
lose.
in your first one. Yeah, just it's
Good
not
one
like
to
they
lose.
got backdoored and ruined their perfect record. They went in. They had a kind of not a goofy team comp, but just the York. It's a different play style when you're playing with the split push in York, and
Especially for impact.
trying to anyway. That's the whole problem there. Like you can't have your split pusher get behind of his lane opponent. That's big time rule when it comes to split pushers. And he got dominated from the beginning, and the whole team fell apart around it. Jensen couldn't do anything. X Smith, he was like you say, he's 0-5 on Lee Sin. That's a pretty rough game, even for a pro that's trying to be the. I mean, they had Alistair and York. They had tankiness. Just a bad game. They just lost. TSM played well, and they just lost. That's all there is to it.
You brought up a good point.
Too big about it.
I honestly believe this loss will be good for them. It's a good time to lose, good team to lose to for them. A little motivation in the bank. You know what I mean? It props TSM up. It gives them a little bit of confidence, but sometimes losing is good for a team that's a lot better than everyone else. Team Liquid's still the best team in the league, but a type of loss like this makes them go back to the drawing board and go, okay, maybe we let it get a little sideways. You know what I mean? It's like what we talked about last night with G2. I think that was a good loss for G2. It's kind of like, hey, you can still lose, but they're one-off games. They're not series. This is one of those things where, we argue with the one games and the series games, right? If Team Liquid's playing a series tonight, they probably win. They probably win this series 2-1. They go back to the drawing board and go, okay, that didn't work out. That was stupid. But you don't have that luxury in NA and EU. So, yeah, they just got beat today. And I think you brought up a really good point. They didn't lose a close game or a nail biter or just a heartbreaker. It was just a stomp from minute one. Okay, pack up our stuff. Let's go back to the drawing board. Everyone take a day off tomorrow, and we'll figure it out on Tuesday. No big deal. Let's just move on with our lives. So
yeah, it's good for the league for TSM.
Yeah, you need TSM
so it's good for NA for TSM to be relevant. So
it's the Fnatic TSM argument.
Yeah, exactly. It was useful for NA.
I agree. Yeah, let's get back to CG then. Why don't we? Because so you saw Viper yesterday, right? Here we go with CG again. You saw Viper yesterday go nuts on Riven. He's played 10,000 games of Riven. Everyone knows him as a Riven one-trick, before he became a professional. So you banned Nocturne Ornn? Ornn? Really?
Did you know he is also the top? Apparently.
What's that?
I just got that. I just got that info from the Clutch Gaming coach messaged me and said that he heard that Viper was the top Ornn in the world at the moment.
There you go.
That's why he banned that out.
You can't give it to that. You can't give it to JJ. You know what I mean? World class support who's been around for years, and he's so well known for his Ornn.
It's just unbelievable.
I don't even know what to say about it. Like,
clowns.
I don't know what is going on there. Get some people to run your drafts who read at least a stat sheet during the week. Something. Or watch the games yesterday. Did anybody watch the games yesterday? Anybody? Did anybody watch the games yesterday?
They
Because
clearly must not have.
right,
Such
it's it's mind
It
blowing,
is. It's
and you wonder
comically.
why
It's bad. It's funny.
you get
Bad. You have to.
trashed.
It is. It is though. It is.
internationally. You wonder why you get
Absolutely
trashed internationally. This is why. This is why. I'll tell you why C9 does well internationally. This would never happen to C9. This type of game. If Viper popped off on Riven the day before, they might have a counter pick for it if they're going to try and bait him into it. But if they don't, Viper, they're not banning Ornn. You know? And it's... somebody at Clutch Gaming who's in charge of that place, walk down there and just change it. Just be like, this is not working. I don't know what you guys are doing down here. I don't know why I pay analysts to give you stats and stuff. There's like 7 websites you can go to watch the VODs from yesterday. If you're the head coach and you're not watching the team you're playing before, because I don't know how else Riven gets through the draft again. She's going to stomp nerfed Scion, which she did. And it's just, I don't know. I really don't. I really don't. I mean, you picked Scion. You picked a meta team from a patch ago.
Yeah. Yeah, really missed the patch notes there.
Somebody
CG.
did. Well, I don't know
The
if they
whole
read about CG.
organization.
I really don't. I don't know what's going on there. I can't defend any of this. They banned Silas, too. I'd pay Viper to play Silas against me.
Yeah, it was a bad game. I don't know if there's anything we can even say about it.
No, it's just a
It's
stomp.
not even worth analyzing. It's a terrible, terrible game. It's one team banning away a bunch of meta, picking a bunch of meta, and then here's a spoiler alert: won the game because of it. You know, I don't
Right.
understand
Right.
how Clutch was ever going to win that game with
No.
that team comp. It's just
If you can, if
embarrassing.
this is actually maybe coming in a little too hot, but I personally have no faith in Santorin. But if this guy is going to get put on a carry jungler and actually do it, you have done something wrong. There is something wildly wrong with
Right.
what you've done or achieved. Clutch Gaming, if Santorin is playing Lee Sin and popping off.
Popping off.
Yeah.
Popping off.
Last
You're not wrong.
jungler in the world I would expect
Lit
to
your
be
team up like a Christmas tree.
just crazy.
I mean, Wild Turtle was just running around
Absolutely
shooting
crazy.
people. He's buying random things. He's like, I'll just buy a Wit's End. You know, take a little MR against Karth. It's cool. You know,
Yeah.
a little whatever. Just buy things. What's in here? What's in this? I haven't looked on this page of the shop in a long time. That looks
Never
good. It's
tried
got a
buying
attack
this
speed. That's got attack
Yeah.
speed. Yeah, build a
Gotta be
Bloodthirster.
alright.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? Forget it. I'm not even gonna buy a QSS. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You can buy a
I can't believe
QSS.
no one on their
Completely
team didn't
unnecessary.
buy an ohm record
When-
for the hell.
Right. When was the last time? I mean, what do you think the percentage of 80 carry like games in across all regions where an 80 carry doesn't buy a QSS or a Guardian Angel?
Oh, it's low. But I mean, when you're playing CG,
Right.
why waste this?
Yeah.
Stomping people.
They didn't even have any CC on their team for the
Right.
most part.
But you
could
got
do
that
anything
Ornn and
with.
Silas ban in there.
Thank
Bingo.
God.
Bingo.
I don't know why
Clean
you
it.
wouldn't.
Clean it up.
Perfect.
Night
Perfect.
CG. You're lucky that
Jeez.
CG's lucky there's not relegations anymore.
Yeah.
Because
Next game.
Yeah.
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
Jiminy Christmas. And we'll get to the
Pull
the
Belter
last
didn't even
game.
kill when they won. 0-6.
Yeah.
Killless on Zoe, the most broken champ. right
the
now.
notorious POB.
The notorious Pob goes 0-6.
I do want to say this though,
stomped.
real quick. Fly looks good. FlyQuest looks good.
Yes.
They played
I
well.
like that team.
Always liked Wild Turtle. Guy never gets enough credit, but they've looked good. Viper, just stop giving him Riven. You know, he's only played like 10,000 games on. It's no big deal. You know, it's cool.
Yep.
But ban Silas, who he's never played. Ban Silas against him. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll see a trend here.
Yeah. Genius. So the last game of the day was C9 and Optic, and this is another Optic game where they're winning. They're winning. They get around Baron. Crown goes in. to Vision, I'm assuming. First of all, okay, maybe there's a communication problem here. We know there's a communication problem on this team. Who's in charge of this place? Uh, Crown's going in to check Vision. Okay, fine, whatever. That should never happen. You have a Scion, you have an Olaf. I mean, Olaf can at least pop ult if he has to get out of there. You know what I mean? Something. But you're doing the Baron dance. You have control of this game. You've given up a little bit of it. You were in control and you lost a team fight before this, which was ridiculous. But this is one of those things. They're getting ahead. Medios was stomping the game, and they somehow lost it to C9. Now, I want to give C9 credit on this stuff, but we also have to look at Optic and go, what are you doing, Dokla? This play was Optic's season in 20 seconds. Crown gets picked. Medios flashes over the wall to try and save him for some reason. There's 5 of them there, Medios. He dies. After he dies, Dokla teleports, which is uncancelable now, buddy, into the team and dies. Game's over. They take Baron and they just march you down and kill you. And the game's over. What? That is their season in a nutshell. They had the lead twice this weekend. Twice. They should have been 2-0 this weekend pretty easily, to be honest with you. They clearly have good players that can make plays and do things, and then that happens, and the game's over. C9 gave them no remorse, no time. Boom, took it, went bot lane, and that was the end of the game. And all the credit to C9. They're the second best team in the league for sure. Licorice stomped this game 7-3, but Optic, dude, what do you got? What happened there? I feel like we already talked about it before. There's we're beating a dead horse at this point, but I don't know what to say about them at this point because they're way too talented to have a record like this.
Just think how that game would have went if they would have banned Urgot instead of Silas in their banning phase.
Right.
I'm willing to bet Licorice doesn't go 7-3 on Silas. So,
No.
I mean, he might have an okay game, but he's not doing what Urgot does, which is completely ruin your team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just ends their souls. I'm not really sure about the Kaisa Ornn bot lane. It looks interesting. I like change.
I mean, it's fine.
It looks okay into the Lover's Lane, which you can't even get upset about him giving that away because it's been nerfed. It's not even that high meta right now. So
No.
I don't know. Or even Zoe. I'll change that up. Like, you can ban the Zoe instead of the Silas. Leave the Urgot out there, I guess. Just ban something good other than him. And the Zillion ban's weird. Like, what's that about? I mean, he didn't get played at all, and he didn't get banned by anybody else, but Optic finds it to be that important that it needs to be banned? That's really strange. What about their team comp that they were going to put together made Zillion such a terrifying pick?
No idea.
Against them. That's the only reason you'd ban him, right?
Right.
So, I don't understand that. I don't.
Well, it comes down to preparation again. Why is Silas being banned? Because Licorice won on him? He's the only major region person who's won on him. I mean, yeah, they won that game, but they're going to win that game if he was on Teemo. It wouldn't have mattered. You're just wasting a ban at that point. You're just wasting a ban. I mean, if you really want to get into it, just like you said it last week, just ban Urgot 100% of the games. If you're not going to get him, just ban him. He's clearly an overpowered pick right now. I mean, he's shielding, he does stupid damage, he buys tank, he has an execute from 6,000 yards. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. I really don't. But all I can say is organizationally in this league, there are multiple teams that are not prepared for the draft phase come Saturday and Sunday. They are not doing their job. The players are there to play, and I'm not blaming players for draft phases because they shouldn't have that much input in it anyways. That's not their job, But this has come down to an organizational thing, and there are so many teams losing at the pick ban phase because they're just not paying attention. And I'll bring it up for the rest of the season. The fact that you didn't ban Riven is just proof positive that you need to fix your infrastructure. You need to get someone in there who actually pays attention to the stats. You need to get better analysts. You need to set that stuff up. I mean, it's not expensive. And, we've talked about it before. I've seen a couple things like, hey, we're looking for an analyst. We need, they only want like master tier players and D2 players and stuff like that. Again, I worked in professional sports. Some of the best analysts I ever met in my life never played a day of baseball past Little League. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with it. If you're a good analyst, you're a good analyst. If you're a good coach, you're a good coach. None of that matters. You need to get some people in there that are probably older, that can act like an adult, because it's young kids leading young kids, and it's really hard. I can tell you right now, if you're the same age as Crown and don't have the experience he does, he's not going to listen to you. Why would he? Do you know as good as he does? No, you don't. And the 10-man roster thing, I mean, whatever. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's as simple as that. That's all I can say about it. I'm going to end my rant on that. It's a joke. Organizational stuff is fixable, and they're not fixing any of it. They think changing players out is how you fix that stuff. It's not how you fix that stuff. This is an organizational problem. This is how you practice. This is how you prepare for games, and you're not doing it properly. And teams that do, like C9, who, take care of that stuff, they're going to beat you every day of the week, and you never have a chance against them.
Yeah, that's what separates the top team from the bottom right now. It's just silly stuff like that, and that's why there's got to be bad teams, there's got to be good teams. That's the way it is. Somebody's got to get last.
Right.
We're seeing pretty clearly who's going to be ninth and who's going to be last, because they can't even get their pick bans correct. So, I mean, that's fairly obvious right now that they have no idea what they're doing in that phase. Banning things that you don't need to ban, not banning, obvious pocket picks. It's not stuff anymore that's just 20/20 vision for us analyzing it.
No.
It's stuff they're well aware of too, and just not doing it. So,
but they're not aware.
Mistakes being made.
That's what I mean.
Well, they should be.
They're not
can
doing
be
their
aware
jobs.
I guess what I mean to say.
They're not doing their jobs.
The information's available to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not doing their jobs, and it's as simple as that. They're just not doing their jobs. But leading into that, let's take a look at the standings here. And so we got, or next weekend we'll end the first half of the season, and I could see Cloud9 getting first. I mean, I could see Liquid losing a game or two and Cloud9 not losing a game, or, losing only one more game or something like that. I could see Cloud9 getting first. I think your top three is pretty hard set right now. I think Liquid, Cloud9, and FlyQuest are going to finish top three. And after that, though, it's kind of a crapshoot. I think Clutch is toast. Optic has enough talent to get going because Echo, CLG, and TSM started out so bad, or have, got back to the middle of the road. And also, you don't have one of those top slots taken up by 100 Thieves right now, which could change because they're good enough. But I think Golden Guardians has got a legitimate chance at making the playoffs. I really do. I think Echo Fox could be volatile. CLG can be a little bit volatile. Who knows with TSM? They could turn into the best team in the league in a second, or they could go right back to where they were. And I think Optic and Clutch are going to stay down where they're at. And so they're
all they got to do.
Right.
Yeah, all they got to do is beat one of them, right? They only need one of them to fall. Take their place. Right?
No, they need two of them. They need two of them. They're in 8th right now. So they're going to have to move up above 100 Thieves. There's a three-way tie at 4th here right now with Fox, CLG, and TSM. So, essentially, so next weekend, Golden Guardians goes 1-1, so they'll be 4-6, and one of those teams goes 0-2. I mean, you're essentially starting the season over again, while you're about to loop back around on everybody, and you're almost at 500, and just kind of basically, hey, it's the beginning of the season again because they're playing one game playoffs here. So who if you have to pick your playoff teams right now, who's your 6 playoff teams?
Oh, well, I think they are the teams. I still think Golden Guardians is 6. I have them as the 6. I think CLG falls off and joins Optic Clutch, and 100 Thieves is not getting in. And I'll take the other 6 as my playoff teams: Golden Guardians in 6, TSM and I'll put them in 4th, Echo Fox in 5th, and FlyQuest will be around the spot in there. But I don't know. I think they're gonna keep going unless another patch comes through. If it just kind of depends with this game, with the ability for the game to change on these patches. We probably won't see one in weeks 5 or 6, but they could do something in week 7, 8, or 9 that just gets stupid. I mean, they almost screwed the game up with this Spell Thief Frostfang freaking no CS lane that they had to hot patch. I mean, that's how incompetent they are when it comes to balancing games, that it's hard to really predict how that's going to affect individual players on these teams. But I don't know. I still like where Team Liquid is, of course. Next week's a big one for Golden Guardians. We'll know. I'll tell you that much right now. We'll know at the end of next week whether Golden Guardians will make it or not, because they play Clutch right away, which they should technically win. So that should get them to 4 and 5. And their second game is against Echo Fox, who is one of the teams above them.
Right.
And Echo Fox plays Team Liquid in day 1. So if they do go 2-0 next week, that means Echo Fox probably goes 0-2, which puts them at 5 and 5 instead of 4 and 6. So there's the team they needed to lose right off the get. And then 100 Thieves plays Team Liquid on day 2. So the opportunity's there.
Who's 100 Thieves got day 1?
They got Optic, so they should get one, and then they should lose one. They play the worst team in the league, and then they play the best team in the league.
Optic's going to beat 100 Thieves.
If that happens, then it solidifies it, because then it almost guarantees you Clutch, Optic, and 100 Thieves are bottom 3, and then it's just the battle for 6th.
Optic's mid laner is so much better than 100 Thieves mid laner, and I think Crown's had enough of it. And I could see this weekend being a turnaround for them, because their 10-man roster thing, I think there's a decent. Meteos played good, so I don't see them taking him out of there, But I could see them doing it with how they're running that place, And it's kind of a circus. So I could see them doing that and putting someone like Dardoch in there, but I don't know who their backup top laner is. But they got to try something else with him. Because I don't think Dokla's really playing too bad, but he just looks so disconnected with the team. So if the communication's bad, then you're going to need someone in the top lane who can make some decisions on their own. Some decisions to protect their mid laners and stuff like that last team fight. But Crown's just, Crown's still really, really, really good. And if he's on a better team right now, I think we're talking about him being the best mid laner in NA right now. And I mean, he should be. We should be talking about Crown being the best mid laner in NA right now. And the dude's a monster. I think Optic can beat 100. I think Optic's going to beat 100 Thieves on Saturday. I really do. I think Optic has a better chance of fixing their communication and organizational problems than 100 Thieves does. I think 100 Thieves is stuck right now, and I don't know how they're going to fix it, because I don't see Prawley making any adjustments. In fact, in that first game with the pick bans, it seemed like they doubled down on their problems. Bang looks dejected. I don't know how you're going to fix that, because that's a communication issue between him and Aframu, it seems like. I mean, that second game today, Bang just got up and walked off the stage. He looked miserable. And I don't know if someday can hard carry that team, because he's going to have to do it, even against Optic.
Yeah, it's important to note too that even though CLG is in right now, they're only 4 and 4, and 2 of their losses are to 100 Thieves and to Optic. So they have the ability to lose to the bottom.
I agree.
That's kind of a big big deal because it's just that's yeah. Just beware of that they can lose. I know they all can lose to anybody at any time, but CLG has the ability to lose to some very not good teams.
Yeah.
Honestly,
at the
outside
moment.
of the top two, I don't have any faith following any of the rest of them. I personally am just waiting. I like FlyQuest. I like the players on that team, but I'm waiting for them to just drop games.
Wild Turtles on their team.
They're fully capable of dropping games. I mean, their jungler is Santorin. Maybe I should have a little bit more faith in him than I do, but I don't.
Not until Rek'Sai's meta.
I never have.
Yeah, if Rek'Sai's meta again, then you better fix your attitude.
Yeah,
but
it's
Rek'Sai's
100%
not meta
true.
right now, so.
So I'm just waiting for FlyQuest to drop the ball a little bit because they're not that much further out than TSM, Counterlogic Gaming, or Echo Fox.
Now,
There's
Rek'Sai
only one
is
game
getting,
separating them.
I think in 9.4, Rek'Sai's getting some buffs, so better watch out. Because Santorin can play Rek'Sai every game. The only problem with that is if Rek'Sai does become meta, if you're playing FlyQuest, you just ban Rek'Ai and then, laugh your way to the bank. But,
well, Clutch won't.
Right, exactly.
They'll be like, who's Rek'Ai? You know what I mean? They just act like they've never heard of it. I think Santorin's played well this year. I mean, he's a solid jungler. Yeah, I think he's gotten maybe a little more shit than he's deserved because of the situations he's been in and expected to perform. But he also hasn't performed on the big stage very well either. So, I mean, maybe some of that stuff's warranted. And I like to talk about Wild Turtle in that situation because, I mean, there are moments where you're like, this dude is a monster, But the reason why I think this is going to be good for Wild Turtle going forward is Jinx's meta, and that dude is a monster on Jinx. And if they start putting him on Jinx, I mean, he's done some things with Jinx. So anything that can be a hyper-aggressive AD carry, I mean, any AD carry that's going to get a buff for killing things, I mean, that's Wild Turtle's wheelhouse. So just don't put him on anything safe. You know what I mean? Give him something that he can go nuts on. He's either going to, pop off or he'll be 0-5. You still have a chance to win the game. You have good players around him. So, I mean, Turtle's going to get his damage, and I'll tell you that much, though. So put him on something that can do that damage. I think Cloud9's going to finish first. It just seems like such a Cloud9 thing, right? They started out a little slow, not really that slow. There were some close games and stuff like that, but they just have such a solid team, communication, organization. I could see Liquid having some trouble, right? Not in the sense that I think they're going to lose like five or six games or anything like that, but I could see Cloud9 winning out, or going close to that and taking that top spot at the end of the day. And I think Cloud9 is gonna win. I think Cloud9 is gonna take first, Liquid second. I think FlyQuest is gonna hold on to third. I got TSM in fourth. I got Golden Guardians in fifth. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think 100 Thieves is gonna make the playoffs.
Oh boy!
And the reason why is they do have a good coach, right? They do have a good coach. They have at least one of the best AD carries in the region. I mean, as far as NA buff goes, there's always going to be double lift standing in front of you. But I think they have hands down the best top laner in the region. I know people like Licorice. I think Licorice is really good, but he's not as good as Someday. And it is a top lane meta. I'm worried about their jungler. Anda has looked middling at best. I worry about their mid lane, and I worry about the bot lane as a whole. I don't worry about Bang when he's put in those pressure situations and he has to just do his job. I worry about what they're doing in the in-between during the farming. You saw Bang get picked out today by being too far up in the lane. I mean, when was the last time you saw Bang too far up in the lane getting picked off? That's a communication thing, it seems like. That's a communication thing where, maybe someone's telling him he's safe, or maybe they're not, and he's just doing what he does because he's so used to someone on SKT being like, what are you doing up there? You know what I mean? We don't have vision there. Get back, you know, stuff like that. If they figure that stuff out, I mean, they'll smash anybody they run into, because I don't think you can beat some. I don't think anybody in the league can consistently beat Someday in the top lane. So I think 100 Thieves is going to make the playoffs, and I think CLG, Echo Fox, Optic, and Clutch are going to finish down at the bottom. I think it's going to be close for Echo Fox. CLG's just, I don't know where they're at. I don't think Optic and Clutch can fix it enough to get back into the race. Optic has a better chance of it. I don't know if Clutch is going to win another game.
That's a bold statement. I mean, 100 Thieves. I can't believe. I want to believe. I mean, I do. Just the same way I want to believe Golden Guardians is going to make it into the top 6. I want to believe that.
I think Gold Guardians is, yeah.
I think if I had to call it right now, I would say Team Liquid's just too good. They're going to end first. But I think Cloud9's going to make it close. Just the way you're seeing it right now, it's going to be Team Liquid 1, Cloud9 2. I think FlyQuest drops a few games. I think they're going to fall to probably 5th. So you're going to have TSM 4th.
Who's 3rd?
Oh, TSM 3rd. Sorry. TSM 3rd. I think Echo Fox is going to get 4th. I think they're going to pop off.
Well, there's a good chance because they have Rush on their team. They're going to go 1-1 every weekend, right? Because he's never lost on Sunday when he's lost on Saturday. So he's never gone 0-2. So I mean, if he keeps that alive, then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
so
I
then
think that streak's going to get broken.
FlyQuest falls to 5th, and then I think I could believe Guardians makes it into the 6th. I think it's going to be a tight fight for 6th between.
Yeah, this league's going to be close.
CLG, I just don't think they're going to get it done. And I mean, I'm only putting TSM up there just because, I mean, they're just a good organization. I mean, you never can count them out. You just can't.
Right.
You know,
I mean, they have Bjergsen.
I don't love TSM. I really don't. I don't hate them as much as Fnatic, but at the same time, you know, not a huge fan. But at the same time, they're good. They're a good team, and I don't have any faith at all in 100 Thieves, Clutch Gaming, or Optic. Unfortunately, I like Prawley, and I like the players on 100 Thieves. I wanted them to be really good, but I just don't think that they're going to figure it out. Not this split. Give them next split. Give them next split. You know, give them the break and then next split, and I think it'll be a different story if they don't make any changes. But that I think is going to be, to me, that's going to be the biggest question mark in my mind is, are they going to make it through this split and not feel like, okay, we have to make some significant changes to this team because it's not working?
If they don't start winning and smashing people, and is not going to be the jungler 100%. There's no chance he'll be the jungler by next split. You can't, because they're going to put a lot of blame on him in that situation, right?
Probably.
Some of it is his fault, but it's not all his fault.
No, I agree. I feel like you can't put any blame. You can't put the blame on any one person, really.
I think you have to look at your jungle, your mid, and your support right now. Because even if you're building your team around Someday and Bang, no matter what, right? You've invested in them. Those are your guys that are going to get people to root for you. You have a great name. You have great branding. And Bang and Someday are going to be the face of that, no matter what. And like I said, I think you have to start looking at that. Like, who's on their academy team? Let me look that up real quick. But I think you need to start looking at that. You need to start looking at what changes could they try at least, right? You know, what do they got going there? So they have Fake God top, they have Froggus in the jungle, they have Soligo in mid, they have Prismal as their AD carry, so he's never going to leave the academy team. And they have Stunt as their support. And honestly, I've watched some of the academy games this season. I've watched them. 100 Thieves academy team hasn't looked great either.
Unfortunately,
Well,
I don't
they lost
see
Levi,
a world
which is a
where
weird one. You know,
I don't see a world where they can cut. Aframu's maybe at this point just a name, but
Yeah, but I mean, you got to win games.
I don't know that you switch him out. I mean, I agree with you. I do.
I don't know if you switch him out either, because I think you need him. Like, it doesn't. It looks like it's been a struggle for him to build a rapport with Bang. So at this point, if you change him out, you're going to have to start that all over again. And
right.
Of all the supports in the whole entire league, besides Core JJ, I probably trust Aframu the most to build a rapport with Bang. So I'll take that. You know, even if I think Aframu's skills have declined, I still think Aframu's mind is important for that team.
Yeah.
At least I think it is. I mean, I don't know. I've never been in those comms. Maybe it's not. You know, maybe it's not working that way. Maybe there's too much. You know, maybe something's going on there. But I mean, they're in an interesting situation. You know, 100 Thieves, their academy team. I don't know a lot about the players on there besides Prismal. I know Prismal pretty well. He's a really good AD carry, but he's never going to get to play with Bang there unless Bang gets sick or hurt or something like that. But organizational depth, you know, they hired Kelsey Moser as their academy team head coach, you know, she's a coach, and you know, she was an analyst before. She's also done some, I don't know if we want to call it journalism, but you know, same type of thing. You know, some talk shows like with Thorne and stuff like that. Just some really good ideas and some really thoughts. You know, maybe start bringing some of those people around to start helping with these drafts, because somebody is missing something. Something is going on here with their preparation. Their preparation is bad, and you know, I'm not saying you need to replace Prawley with Kelsey. It's not my point, but maybe bring her into a more prominent role to help with that stuff. Maybe just bring some new eyes to the situation or something, or one of your analysts or something, or because you need to sit down, you need to fix this stuff, because if you don't fix it now, you have 6 days to fix this. Because if you don't fix it and you go lose 2 games next weekend, your spring split's over. You go 1-1, your spring split might be over, but at least the rest of the league has beat each other up enough to keep you in position, because it's just, you know, it's an interesting situation there. But let's leave it at that, and thanks for joining me, guys. I appreciate it, and we will see you guys next week for the LEC Rundown. Have a good one.